Going on, everyone? So the Cleveland Cavaliers could find themselves in quite the tough predicament this upcoming offseason, as they may end up having to trade Donovan Mitchell. Now, he could very well decide to sign a new extension, get a new contract, and stick around with the Cleveland Cavaliers. But he could just as well say, you know what? I'm not going to re-up. Hey, let's trade me. Let's get me out of here. Now, he's not a free agent this offseason, but at the end of this season coming up, he could decide to opt out and then become a free agent on his own will. So the Cavs, they're not going to want to run the risk of, hey, we're going to lose Donovan Mitchell for nothing. So the Cleveland Cavaliers are fully expected to look to move him if they can't get him to agree to an extension. Now, another team that is kind of in an interesting position is the Denver Nuggets. Now, Jamal Murray has next year, and then he becomes a free agent, right? So the Denver Nuggets could look and go, well, what are we going to do here, right? Denver was primed and ready to look to potentially go and repeat this upcoming season and ended up losing to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And a lot of it was because of Murray. Now, Murray, when he's playing the Lakers, the dude is prime Michael Jordan, right? But when he's playing any other team, he really has been struggling lately. Injuries have been a real concern with him the last few years, right? Denver, the one year that they were healthy and things were good, right? Denver wins an NBA championship. But Jamal Murray really had his struggles this postseason. And again, Denver's going to start having to make some real tough decisions. I mean, there's already murmurs and talks about them potentially looking to trade Michael Porter Jr., that teams are going to kind of, at least inquire and see if Denver would be willing to move off of him, right? The new CBA really kind of hampers teams. And so Denver may end up having to look to pivot either this year or obviously in the offseason. Now, I'm sure that they would like to keep Jamal Murray around and keep him kind of long term, but there is the possibility that maybe they can't come to a conclusion, or if he continues to have his struggles or continues to have injuries, well, then it might be like, do we really want to pay him a max and give him all this money? And now we're locked up. And, say they lose again in the first round or they lose in the second round again. It's like, okay, maybe we're not going to be able to get over that hump again. Maybe that 1 year was just our year. Again, this is a real question that Denver's going to have to come to. Well, what if they just swapped Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray? Right? So they're both making essentially the exact same contract. Jamal Murray's making like a little less than $1 million more. So they could easily just say, hey, why don't we just swap our players? Now, maybe there's some, picks, or maybe there's, other pieces involved, whatever. But just the simplistic concept would be to take Jamal Murray, send him to the Cleveland Cavaliers, bring in Donovan Mitchell to the Denver Nuggets. And this makes perfect sense for both teams. Now, start with the Cavs side, because the Cavs side, I think, is the most reasonable, right? And I know that some Denver fans might go, no way, but hear me out. So, again, from the Cleveland side of things, you could trade Donovan Mitchell for some picks or whatever, right? Or you could trade him for, an all-star caliber type player. I know Jamal's never had that, but he's been that guy. And go get a guy in Jamal Murray, right? And we're basically swap them and get a guy that can come in and give you a very comparable type of impact, right? We've seen Jamal, when he's healthy in the playoffs before, just go off. I mean, I remember the playoff series where Jamal and Donovan Mitchell were just trading buckets and going back and forth, right? So Jamal Murray would really give the Cleveland Cavaliers kind of that nice replacement. Also, I think Jamal Murray would fit better alongside Darius Garland, and it may not cause Darius Garland to want out so quickly, right? There's a lot of talks that if Donovan Mitchell sticks around, that Darius Garland may say, hey, I want to trade. Where Jamal, you can kind of make an argument he's more of a two guard than he is a point guard, right? Like, where he could just go to a team like Cleveland and just go get buckets. Now, again, there's obviously the same concerns that the Denver Nuggets have, where it's just the injuries and playoff performance. But again, like, you could run the risk of losing Donovan for nothing, or you could go get some role players, or you could take the shot on a Jamal Murray. right? And get you a guy that, especially in the East, would make you better, right? I don't know how much better with Donovan Mitchell, but I think that he would be not as ball dominant. I think he'd be a lot more fitting than Donovan Mitchell can be at times, right? And I think that the biggest question would be, would Jamal want to stay in Cleveland? Because again, he could just leave. And now you're in the same position that you're with the Cleveland Cavaliers. But if Jamal's like, no, hey, I'll stick around, like, sign me to a new deal, like let's figure this out, right? I think you could do worse than Jamal Murray if you're the Denver Nuggets. Now, or if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, from the Denver Nuggets side of things, you get a much more proven, year in and year out playoff performer in Donovan Mitchell. You get a guy that can close games, be a bucket defensively. He's actually coming off a very good defensive season. So I think you'd get a little bit more of a point of attack defensive guy in Donovan Mitchell, right? You, again, run the risk of all the things that I highlighted with Jamal Murray, besides the playoff performance and that concern. But, I mean, even last year when Denver won the championship, right? The Lakers series, Jamal Murray, again, was prime Michael Jordan. But every series after that, he wasn't great. Like, he wasn't bad, but he wasn't great. Where I think Donovan Mitchell would give you more stability, give you more consistency. Now, as far as like playing games and stuff, they play nearly the identical amount during the regular season. Donovan Mitchell's actually played a little more the last few years. Again, Jamal's been kind of dealing with injuries a lot. And I know people point to Donovan Mitchell injured in the playoffs, but also he's so reliant and needing to do so much for the Cavs. I mean, the guy's out here dropping 50 in the playoffs and still losing. Right? I mean, he's doing everything. He had that one game in like the fourth quarter where they had 20 points in the fourth and he had all 20 of them. Right? Like, he wouldn't have to do that with Denver. He would have the easiest time. He could just focus on the things that he is best at. I think he would be better defensively, right? Because people forget, Donovan Mitchell was looked at as like a defensive stopper coming out of Louisville, right? He was a defensive-minded guard coming out of Louisville. And then he kind of evolved into that scoring, that bucket that he's become, right? Again, you'd still have the same question of like, would Donovan Mitchell be willing to stick around and re-up with Denver? But I don't know why he wouldn't, right? I mean, it'd give him a real opportunity to contend for an NBA championship. He'd be playing with Jokic, which is by far the best player he's ever played alongside, and Jokic's ability to make plays. Like, again, Donovan Mitchell could just be Donovan Mitchell, right? So to me, I do think that this is something that could be very helpful and very impactful. I think it actually would make both teams better because I think Denver would get the upgraded play. Donovan Mitchell's better than Jamal Murray. He is, right? So I think that they get the upgraded player, right? I think Jamal Murray gives you a lot of the same things that Donovan Mitchell gives you, but I also think he's more willing to fit in rather than take over, right? But he is a guy that could still go get a bucket. So I think that the transition into Jamal Murray would be a lot more smoother, and you could keep Darius Garland. And I don't think that there would be this like kind of conflict and struggle between Jamal and Darius Garland. And look, if you're Cleveland, you could still flip Darius Garland if you wanted to, and then just have Jamal Murray be the guy. The big question is, again, would both of these players want to stay with that respective team? Like, would Jamal Murray want to stay with the Cavs, and would Donovan Mitchell want to stay with Denver? If they did, and they both were willing to sign on, I think that this is one of the trades that is actually very fair for both sides, right? Everything is incredibly comparable, right? I mean, even they're both 27. Like, the age is the same, right? They're similar size. Jamal's 6'4", right? Donovan Mitchell 6'3", right? So you just across the board, everything is. I mean, this would be about as fair and clean of a trade as it gets, in my opinion. Both guys can get their new contract with their new respective teams. Donovan Mitchell gets to be on one of, if not the best teams in the league next year. Jamal Murray gets to be on a real contending team in the Eastern Conference, team that could potentially make it out, right? The Cavs could make some moves, make some changes. Again, they could end up trading Darius Garland, go get some other pieces. Right? Like, I just, maybe Evan Mobley takes another jump, takes another leap. They're looking to trade Jared Allen, so maybe, they get something there. I just think that this, like, if both sides are kind of like, what do we do? And there are so many concerns and questions with Jamal. If you can turn Jamal into Donovan Mitchell, who has, again, been the more consistent playoff performer, and some might look at it and go, well, Jamal won a championship. You don't think if Donovan Mitchell was with, like, last season, if you swap Jamal Murray with Donovan Mitchell, you don't think that Denver still would have won a championship? Like, I do. Because Donovan Mitchell still would have given you the same production. Still would have given you the same level of scoring. Probably give you better defense. Right? Like, so you would have gotten the exact... And again, Jamal wasn't, like, great outside of that Lakers series. Like, even in the finals, he wasn't great. Right? Where Donovan Mitchell, I think, would have given you more. So, I think, like, if you're... to me, Denver, that's a no-brainer. Like, honestly, I think if you could turn Jamal Murray into Donovan Mitchell, I think you do that all day if you're Denver. Question is the Cavs, right? Like, is that something that they want? And, again, it really would hinge on Jamal Murray going, you know, like, hey, I'll stay. I'll re-up. Because if he's like, nah, like, hey, you know, I'm not going to sign a new extension. I'm just going to leave after this season. You know, you shouldn't have traded for me. Well, then now that's a big issue, right? But if he's like, no, hey, no, you guys traded for me. Kind of like what Paul George did with the Thunder, right? If you remember a couple years ago, it was like, oh, he's going to go to Lakers. He's going to go to Lakers. Lakers didn't trade for him. The Thunder did. Everyone thought that he was just going to leave the Thunder to go to the Lakers anyway. And he was like, well, they traded for me, so I'm not going to do that to them. I know he, like, you know, requested a trade like 6 months later or whatever it was, but point is he stuck around. Like, if Jamal is willing to kind of do the same thing where he's like, you know, hey, like, you guys traded for me, I'm going to stick around, you know, just pay me, give me the bag, right? Like, again, you could do worse if you're the Cavs than Jamal Murray, and he just gives you a guy that can, I think, be a better fit with the team and still give you that all-star level, still give you a lot of the same things that Donovan Mitchell gives you. Again, they still play roughly the same amount of games. I think it's a win-win, genuinely. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you like this move? Do you not like this move? Do you think, like, nah, it's you know, it doesn't make sense for the Cavs, doesn't make sense for Denver. No, you can't trade Jamal Murray because Denver. Again, I know some Denver fans might not want to trade Jamal, but if you can turn Jamal into Donovan Mitchell, I think that's a no-brainer. But again, it's my thoughts. I want to hear yours. Let me know down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos. Truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.